I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, I often get a lot of young new realtors that reach out to me or comment in my comment section, asking for various advice on becoming a realtor and entering into the real estate profession. And I know I have a lot of people that are thinking about getting into real estate that watch my blog or sometimes get in touch with me. I'm currently mentoring. My time is fairly limited. I try my best to get back to some of these people and for the quick phone call and some advice. I'm currently mentoring, 2 proteges right now in my brokerage. So, I'm always trying to give back and give them some of my experience and about the business. But I've done a few blogs in the past about becoming a realtor, entering the career of real estate. And, over the last 10 years, I've never discouraged anyone from becoming a realtor because it is an incredible profession. The rewards are unlimited, the flexibility on your time. Of course, if you're getting into this business, if you're successful and can put the time in and build your business up, financially the rewards can be very good. Some of the highest paid, people in the Lower Mainland are definitely realtors for sure. One look at the parking lots of some of the brokerages, you'll find that out pretty quick. But I also make sure people understand that getting into real estate is a extremely difficult field to break into. The odds are stacked against you. But I never discourage someone from getting into it because you can rise above. It's actually not as hard as people think, but the odds of becoming a successful realtor, for every 100 realtors that get their new license, I think half are out of the business after the first year. I think another 20% are out after the second year. I think after 5 years, something like maybe 10 out of every 100 are still in the business. And of those, probably only 1 or 2 are really making a living at it. Making a living at it in this business, in my opinion, is achieving at least Medallion Club status. Medallion Club is top 10%. It's going to take you 3, 4, 5 years to hit that mark. That's what it took me before I got into the top 10%. But then, of course, you can move up the ranks from there all the way up to President's Club or close to it, which is top 1 or 2%. And that's where, the real money and the real success is being had. But, it's not an easy career to get into. I just saw an article here, and I'm seeing so many of these. I've seen a few of these in Canada, too. In the Wall Street Journal last week, there was an article called "New Realtors Pile into the Hot Housing Market. Most Find It Tough Going." Currently, I could not believe this. Currently, in the United States, there are more licensed realtors than there are homes for sale. And I can tell you that ratio probably is not too far off here for the Greater Vancouver Board. Now, real estate, the realtor numbers go up and down as the markets go. And I can tell you at one point, back in 2017, 2018, we had over 14,000 realtors. I think at one time we had about 14,500 realtors in the Greater Vancouver Board. And now we're sitting at something around 13,800 realtors. And that number now, though, has been trending up for another 3 or 4 months here now as the markets start to heat up. I wouldn't be surprised by this summer if we're well over 14,000 licensed realtors just in the Greater Vancouver Board. Then we've also got the Fraser Valley Board, which has another 4,000 or 5,000 members out there. So it ebbs and flows as markets go. When markets start to get hot, more realtors pile in. But it is a very difficult business to crack. Most realtors, what I tell young realtors when they get into business is most of them run out of money. Because you get in the business, and I've often told them, if you can do what we call an AND, which is a buy or sell, if you can do 3 or 4 of those in your first year, 3 or 4 ANDs, you are doing very well. Do not be discouraged by that. That is a good start. One of my first managing brokers used to say that you don't become an experienced realtor until you've done 100 ANDs. Now, the typical realtor in the Greater Vancouver Real Estate Board, the average number of ANDs is something like 2.5 or 3. 2.5 or 3. Now, you've got a lot of part-time people in there. You've got a lot of newbies always coming in that might not even do a deal in their first year. And then, of course, you've got the higher echelon realtors, like myself, that are doing 30, 40, 45 deals a year. But average out, The typical realtor is doing something like less than 3 Ns a year, so they're not even making a living. An N might generate, in Vancouver, might generate $6,000, $7,000 on average. So maybe they're making $18,000 a year. So it's a tough business to crack, but it can be done. But it takes a lot of time. I get people who will often say on Twitter and on social media or in the newspaper comment section, anyone can become a realtor. You spend 6 months on the licensing and then you can go off and sell homes. Couldn't be further from the truth. The licensing, which is done through UBC's Sauder School of Business, yeah, you could get your license from start to finish in maybe 6 months or so, no problem. But once you write that exam, and that exam is getting more and more difficult every year, by the way, but once you pass that exam, you don't have any clue yet how to sell real estate, not a clue. The licensing exam is just a barrier to entry. It's just so that they don't make it too easy that anyone can get a license. Most of it is on mortgage math and legal stuff, legal law, real estate law, that, especially the mortgage stuff, that has no practical use becoming a working realtor. None. But they want to throw in a bunch of math stuff to try and, create a little bit of a barrier to entry. That's only your beginning once you get your license. You're going to spend $4,000 or $5,000 getting your license. Then you've got to join a brokerage, and then your real training starts. Then you're going to spend another couple thousand, $3,000 on brokerage training. And then you're going to go out on the field and start to learn the business, the contract of purchase and sale, how to write subject clauses, all the practical stuff that realtors need to know, prospecting and everything else. It's going to take, as I say, 100 deals before a realtor becomes experienced. If you're only doing average realtor doing 2 or 3 deals a year, it's going to take you, 3 decades before you become experienced. And that's why most realtors drop out. The other thing is, I think the TV makes the career of real estate look very glamorous. You're selling $1 million homes and it's all done negotiated on the phone and it looks fairly straightforward. Looks pretty glamorous. That's not the way the real life of real estate works. You're getting up at 5 a.m. and you're working until 9, 10 p.m. at night, and you're doing that 7 days a week. Real estate doesn't sleep. You don't get weekends off on real estate. I work 7 days a week, still do to this day, don't need to. And try and take some breaks though throughout the year. But in my first 5 years in this business, I never took a vacation. I worked 7 days a week, 10, 12-hour days, no problem. That's what it takes to break into it. So when somebody asks me about the career of real estate, I never want to discourage them from getting into this business because it is an incredible business. But it's like any career. It's tough. The odds are stacked against you that you're going to make it, even into the middle tiers of the 14,000 realtors that are on the board, let alone getting it into the Medallion Club, which is top 10%. And in my opinion, that's where you're kind of making a fairly decent living, the 10% and higher. But it's a lot of work, takes a lot of time to put into it. We've probably got close to as many realtors right now as we do homes for sale in Vancouver. And, the typical realtor only does about 3 Ns a year. You've got to know what you're getting into. I tell realtors too that you should have a little bit of a nest egg when you get into real estate. Have some money in the bank to get you through the first year or two, because you're probably not going to be making a lot in commissions, and it's a lot of money to get your website started up and your marketing program and business cards and your desk fees and your errors and emissions insurance and the membership dues you have to pay every month to the real estate board to keep your license. But it's a great career, but it is stacked against you here. You really got to be disciplined and dedicated to make it in this career. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.